Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. With a warm welcome back to the cricket show. It has been a while, and I'm a little bit flustered. Well, I'm always flustered when I start the show, but even more so because I do realise that on the promo we put down that we were going to start at 3:30 Indian summer time, but in my head, and it's probably to do with the work that it's been a tough week at work, but I had it in my head that it will be 10:30 UK time. So it is all on me that we started this show 24 minutes, 25 minutes late. But let's not dwell on that too much. There's always mistakes for me, so there'll be plenty more as well as we carry on. But let's get the expert who never makes a mistake and always keeps me on track and keeps me updated with everything that's happening and on timekeeping as well. Hello, Prasen. How are you, my friend?
Hey Bharat, good to be back. Just a couple of things on everything that you said. First of all, you're a little too hard on yourself. I think you follow a lot more sport than I do, and given the work that you do, it's obviously only human that sometimes time can get the better of you. And you're also a little too kind on me. I mean, I've got my predictions fairly wrong quite a few times on the show, so
Well, your
I think
predictions come with a lot of knowledge. Mine come with a lack of knowledge. So there's a difference. That yours are more serious, and there's real reasons as to why some of them don't happen. But
I think we're on the same plane there. I mean, both of us watch the same cricket, so there
well,
isn't much to
it's
dis.
been a few weeks since we spoke. The cricket show is not regular. It's probably going to go fortnightly now because of all the sport that everybody's covering and watching. Prasan, how's the past few weeks been for you outside cricket? And we will get into cricket, obviously.
Yeah, it's been okay. Our whole family sort of got different variations of the bug. Of course, luckily it wasn't the one that shouldn't be named. But we did catch different variations of it, and I think the whole of India has basically caught it at some point
Mm.
in time this month. But otherwise, we're okay. I think the sort of getting used to the whole fact of needing to live along with the virus in our surroundings. So I think it's been okay. How about you? How are things there?
Yeah, here it's completely back to normal. All the restrictions were lifted on Thursday, but you wouldn't have noticed there were any restrictions prior to that. So it is something that we're going to live with. It's gone to third or fourth story in the news. There's Our prime minister's got a lot more other things to worry about at the moment other than coronavirus. But yeah, we won't dwell on that too much. So yeah, it's gone down the pecking order in the news. But I also noticed the polo shirt you're wearing, and it's in. I mean, the F1 season isn't for a couple of years, but that is your team, isn't it?
No, this is actually Ferrari. I'm
Exactly. I
I'm
saw
actually
Ferrari, and I thought because
no
I
no
thought it
no
was
no no.
Mercedes or
I have a very very big loyalty towards Max Verstappen. In fact, I actually have a friend who's at home right now, and he got the Verstappen cap with the number 33 on. But from next season, he's gonna be sporting one on his car, and so you probably need to go to the tailor and get that changed to one somehow. But no, we're all Max Verstappen fans, and
so it's
I mean,
not.
of course, that's why the whole of the uproar when he won, and the celebration and all
Well,
of that.
there is an asterisk on that
Yeah,
season and his championship, as far as we in the UK are concerned.
you are
Um,
concerned. Yep.
so it's about the driver, not about the manufacturer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I haven't followed F1 as much, to be that invested in it. Of course, it's been a couple of years, but hopefully, with the new season that's rolling out, the new era that's been ushered in as such, with the new rules, I think it's going to be far more competitive and we'll have a good season. But hopefully, this changes to a Red Bull soon because that's something that's missing from my from my cupboard.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get into the F1 season when it comes in. We'll have a few comments, but one thing that is happening and is always happening is our national team playing cricket somewhere around the world. It is a 12-month, 365-day sort of a season now with no breaks, and we've had a few weeks now to reflect on the goings on in South Africa. A lot has been said. I mean, there's no denying it was a real disappointing tour all round. And I'll personally say I wasn't interested in the ODI series. It just didn't interest me. I don't know about you, But how do you look back on that tour? And we were really looking forward to it. It's one of the final barriers that we had to overcome as a cricketing nation to win in South Africa. We all thought this was the best opportunity we've had looking at the South African team and our team in terms of Test cricket. How do you look back on that series?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you in the sense that I don't think it garnered as much interest as probably an India match should have. I think it was simply because in the aftermath of everything that had happened with Virat Kohli and the whole captaincy debate and basically the politics behind whatever is happening in Indian cricket, no one was as invested in the game, and I think the results sort of fueled that whole disinterest even further. With the bowlers basically lacking any bite, unable to pick up wickets, with the South African batters, really taking the bowlers to the cleaners. Most of our batters obviously got scores. Shikhar Dhawan scored a couple of half centuries. Kohli himself did score a couple of them, and yet none of them could make that a big one. And at the end of it, the way that we lost the third game, the decider 10 runs to win of 18 deliveries, and our last four players, I mean, obviously they aren't batters, but you'd expect the last three, four to get those runs, despite them not getting that batting practice. So it was certainly a very disappointing end to the tour. Like you said, we obviously were expected to win the series, given that we were playing almost all of our players from whoever's been playing for a long time. But a lot of experiments were tried out, and now in the aftermath of that, the post-mortem has been done, and now we have a almost a very very different squad that's going to be facing against the West Indies. So a very disappointing series overall. I think the result should have certainly favored us. A couple of mistakes that were made, not much on the captaincy front, but I think certainly in terms of what we were expecting from the batters and the bowlers, we didn't get any of that. And so, yeah, a very disappointing end to what could have been an easy series victory.
And just looking at the series and the disappointment, and obviously I don't know if team morale had something to do with it. You mentioned the fact that there wasn't that interest, that buzz around the series, and the results probably had something. Well, not probably, they did have something to do with it. But it didn't start well with the issues around the captaincy and Virat, and then Rohit going injured. So it just didn't have that feeling of this team's ready for it. There seemed to be something missing from the get go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when someone like Virat Kohli, who's basically been the torchbearer of this side, when he decides to take such a call, there's not much that you can focus on when such a decision comes up. And obviously, he was the talk of the town. The fact that I mean, in my opinion, he left the team high and dry. Of course, he probably had his own reasons. But if you look at the history of Indian captains, when MS Dhoni took over, he was going to be the next captain. When he took over from Kumble, obviously he laid the foundation for someone like Virat Kohli to take over. And given the fact that Rohit Sharma was going to take over in the ODIs and T20s, but still Kohli stepping down from Tests was a massive shock because no one really expected it. It came out of the blue. Of course, probably he has his own reasons, he has his own personal terms and things like that. But then again, I think the team was obviously flustered by what had happened. It wasn't something that was expected, and I think basically it sent shockwaves to the whole team. I mean, of course, it did catch all the fans and pundits off guard, but I think it sort of left a sense of what next in the Indian team, and that rubbed on to the ODI series, and it was all over the place because we weren't sure of who's going to play. In one game, Surya didn't play. Surya played the last game. He scored well. Venkatesh Iyer was dropped. He was brought into the side for a particular role. He didn't do. Again, the bowlers didn't pick up wickets. No one looked like they were going to pick up wickets apart from Bumrah. So it was all a bit of here and there, and there wasn't any clarity in the way the Indian team approached the ODI series, and it was all a mess basically that Indian cricket found itself in. Hopefully, with Rohit coming back to lead the side, all of that is sort of put aside, and we have a good series because I think that's what Indian cricket needs right now. Obviously, playing West Indies and Sri Lanka is a lot easier than playing the Sena countries. But again, I think Indian cricket needs those dominating wins again for people to get that interest back in cricket. That said, we did discuss this in the previous show as well. I don't think ODI cricket is going to last for too much longer. But for as long as it's there, India will continue to play ODI cricket, and that's what we need to look forward to.
Well, that's a bold statement about ODI cricket, and one that we could have a whole show on. And we'll talk about the upcoming series as well, and how much interest can be generated when you're playing the likes of the West Indies. Well, in a way, any team in India, because we
Yeah.
know the chances of an away win are small. But just finishing on the South African series, and then I want to move on to Virat and the repercussions of how he's probably feeling, because I think that is also a measure as to why he stepped down, about the new setup in Indian cricket. But just about the series itself, do you think it was the last time we saw a few of the players? I mean, in terms of the tests, I think it was down to the middle order batsmen, that I think they need to shoulder the majority of the burden in terms of why we lost. But you know, if you bring back Rahane and Pujara for the Sri Lanka series in the test matches, I think I'll be really disappointed. What are your thoughts on any players that you might think have played their last for India?
Well, we've been saying for a long time that Rahane might have played his last test, but he just finds a way to get back in the team, doesn't he? I mean, it's not too long ago that we sort of were wondering if each test that Rahane played would be his last. But it seems like the team continues to see something in him, and as far as as far as my thoughts go, I have a feeling that they might use the word rest to sort of give Pujara and Rahane some time off because, let's face it, we're facing Sri Lanka and, they've never really been competition in terms of a cricketing result oriented thought process. But then again, of course, they are a good team, but it's not like you need your strongest players on the field to beat Sri Lanka. So I have a feeling that they're probably going to give some of these players who have been on the benches for some time a good chance. Maybe the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav, Shreyas Iyer, Hanuma Vihari, all these guys who have been on the sidelines waiting for their chances. They're going to give them a go in the Sri Lanka series and give Pujara and Rahane some rest because, I mean, obviously it is a part of the World Test Championship, but they're probably needed for bigger matches if they're going to be in the thick of things and in the main team. So, as far as I want, I think a lot of us want Rahane to have played his last game because he isn't exactly performing. But I have a feeling we're going to go in with a very, I mean, not exactly a second string side, but I don't think we're going to have a very strong team facing off against Sri Lanka.
And obviously, the big question will be when the squad, and it won't be down the line for England, that whole Test match is selected. It'll be like the New Zealand World Test Championship. It'll be interesting to see who makes it from the South Africa series, because I agree with you. If the BCCI is sensible, especially the selectors, they'll give some of our bench a run out against both the Test matches against Sri Lanka. But if Hanuman Vihari does play his first Test match at home and has a blinder, scores a couple of centuries, people are going to put an asterisk around that. Oh, he was against Sri Lanka, because he's done sterling service overseas, and I think he just is not given the credit he's due. I really hope he gets his chance to play in our home arena, as it were.
Yeah, he certainly deserves a go. With everything that he's done. Even in the game that he played. Just after, I mean, coming back from injury, he was the one who stuck around. He's the one who gritted it out with all the other batsmen failing. Probably if there was someone else to stand with him, probably when Virat Kohli got out when he was trying to chase the delivery of Rabada, probably Vihari was at the other end. He'd know that someone else was sticking by him and he could have got to that century. But that's what Vihari offers to the team. He's probably not looked at in the light of a match winner, someone who can score like 100, 200 and score a lot of runs for the team. But he's someone who's always out there. He's not going to give away his wicket. He's always going to look to battle it out there in the middle. And I think we're missing that sort of a character in the side because everyone else is looking to score runs. Pujara as well, I think off late he's changed his technique to score a lot more runs because of the criticism he's got that he's not scoring, and because of that he's obviously giving his wicket away also. So he can't be blamed, but then again, I still feel Vihari has to be given a go, and I think he's definitely going to get his due in the Sri Lanka series because again, they're not going to send the strongest side, and of the people who are probably going to remain from the trip to South Africa, I think Hanuma Vihari certainly deserves a chance because he's waited on the silence for far too long. And if the last few innings that he's played out is any reason to give him a chance, I don't see a reason why we need to look past him.
And moving now to the new era under Rohit, obviously we don't know who is going to be the captain for the Test matches for India, and chances are it'll probably be Rohit. I can't see them not taking that option, and we'll see what happens when the announcement is made. But moving into the new era and Virat Kohli and the way he's feeling, I mean, he's not had the best 2021 in terms of batting. A couple of the results, I mean, West Indies. I mean, sorry, the West World Test Championship against New Zealand, the ICC T20 World Cup. But one thing with Virat, he built this team in his mold. They were passionate, they were strong, they were aggressive. It was a win-win mentality, and sometimes, well, I personally questioned it in the South Africa one. You know, when the second test, I thought, play out time, let's settle for a draw. Do you think that's going to change now?
I think it will. I think it definitely will. In fact, in the one test that we lost, which KL Rahul led, I felt, that whole aggression was something that was really missing from the side. A lot of people actually brought it up on Twitter. They were like, "What if Virat Kohli was actually leading? Could he have instilled that bit of aggression? The way that we couldn't get Dean Elgar out at all, and in the end, he obviously led the side to a win. I felt that aggression was clearly missing when Kohli wasn't on the field. That said, if Kohli, the captain, is going to be missed or not is no doubt. But how much Kohli makes an impact while on the field is something that we might need to see. Because if he's opted to drop down from captaincy, that just means that, he didn't mention in his statement as well, if I'm not able to give my 120%, then I'm not being honest as a side. So does that mean that he's not going to give his 120%? He's not going to look for that. He's going to take a little bit of a laid back approach. I don't think so, because that's not how Virat Kohli's played his cricket. He's still going to be fiery. He's still going to be that aggressive person. He's on the field. But that said, I'm not sure if that's going to rub on the entire team, because eventually it's the captain who calls the shots. And Rohit Sharma is obviously, in some sense, a polar opposite of Virat Kohli. He takes it very calm. He's someone who's very calculative in his thought process. And so I think we're certainly going to miss Virat Kohli, the captain, just for the fact that that winning mentality and the whole aggressive part of it is probably going to be missing. We might see a team which is, slightly more calmer, slightly more, one. I wouldn't put it by saying that they don't want to win, but the whole aggressiveness, the whole wanting to put the opposition team under pressure the whole time, I don't think that's something we're going to see, because in the one example that we got when Rahul led the side, that was something that was clearly missing.
And in terms of Virat overall, and when you talk about the world's top elite sportsmen, they have that big ego that needs to be managed because they produce on the field. They're living on the edge in terms of probably what they say, how they behave, because they've got that sort of aggressions. We keep using that word, aggression. Do you think the management have not handled this situation well in terms of, we have to change the loss of, we know how close he was to Ravi Shastri. We know, they seem to have the same mentality as well. And the transition to this new management under Coach Dravid, and with the BCCI president having a lot more influence and say in seams. Do you think this whole matter has not been handled well, and dare I say Virat is losing interest in cricket?
I certainly think so, because I mean, I don't remember how many days it's been since the whole saga started, but we haven't heard a word from the BCCI, and neither has the president stepped up and given his thoughts on the whole issue. There was this report that said that Ganguly wanted to give out a show cause notice to Kohli, and then Ganguly came out and rubbished those reports. So what's really happening? I mean, I think Indian cricket fans, the followers of Indian cricket deserve to know what's happening. Because if someone as passionate about the game as Kohli steps down from captaincy, there's nothing bigger than leading a country. And if someone like him steps down from that role, there's certainly something wrong. Because I think under Shastri, Kohli had a bit of a free reign wherein he could obviously pick what he wanted to do. But I feel, I mean, obviously these are just theories, but I feel under Dravid, he feels like he's been put in a cage in some sense, because obviously Dravid's come from that under 19 NCA ground wherein he's obviously had the room to breed players into the type of characters that he wants on and off the field. So when he came into the side, it's probably gotten to a stage where Dravid has also wanted to call the shots in terms of maybe selection or in terms of how he wants the team to play, and that's probably not sat too well with Virat Kohli. But we certainly need answers for it. I mean, this isn't going to end well if this is the way it continues, and we can't put up wins. So I mean, it's all a mess right now. Indian cricket is
It
certainly
feels
finding
that
itself
way.
in quicksand. Yeah, and I don't see I don't see a solution at all unless Saurav Ganguly or the selectors or whoever it is comes out and gives a statement on the issue. It's all going to be theories, and that's not good for Indian cricket.
Well, it is sad the way that it's been handled down. He's nowhere near the end of his career. He's got a couple of years in him, if not more, Virat, and we know, well, nothing more needs to be said about his qualities. But I think people are forcing him to lose that love of the game and the passion for the game. Even here, the Sky Sports comms did a review, and we've talked about in previous show about the future of Test cricket. And the one person they named for generating the interest back into Test cricket was Virat. And you talked earlier about you can't see a long-term future for the 50-over game. But here,
Yeah.
we're talking about the future of Test cricket, and it's unimaginable that we lose Test cricket. It's not unimaginable we lose ODI cricket, but Virat was so passionate about that. And if we go into this calm, yeah, we'll take it. I know I said what I said about the second test, but if we don't go for the aggression to win the opportunity and keep that interest in Test cricket, and it was all down to Virat. Let's face it. There's more than just losing a player if this is the result. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's that big game, the fifth Test match against England, and then
Yeah.
there's the World Cup in Australia, and there's a few. I think there's an Asia Cup as well. So he might be rested for a couple of home series, but we'll see if we can get that passion back somehow. And Rohit and Coach Dravid can work together to bring the real Virat that we know, because that 2021 for his own personal batting performance or whatever results in big games wasn't the best. So we'll see how that pans out. But one thing that has panned out is the selection for the West Indies squads. Now, firstly, is there going to be crowds allowed for this game? Or is it behind closed doors?
As far as I know, I think so far they've decided it's going to be behind closed doors and no
Well,
crowds.
in a way, I'm glad, because to try and generate interest for these games, and some of these selections, I just want to run by you. I mean, the T20 World Cup is coming up this year, and when do you start preparing a team for that? When do you start preparing a squad? Because some of the selections, if we just look at the with Jahal and Bhuvi, there's a couple of players that just surprised me that were in the team, but not for you.
Oh, Bhuvi really surprises me because he's barely done anything in the recent past to actually warrant a place in the side. It's probably because the only reason I see Bhuvi being there is because neither Bumrah nor Shami are in the side. They probably need like a little bit of experience in the unit. Otherwise, it would have probably been all youngsters. And obviously, they probably don't want to stoop down to that level where they're playing just the IPL recruits, and they did that mistake in Sri Lanka, and we saw what happened there with the way that we lost against Sri Lanka. So I feel they want that little bit of experience in the side. Bhuvneshwar Kumar does offer that. And that's probably the only reason that I see Bhuvi being there, because he's obviously been taken off from the ODI side. He's not been given a run there. So is Venkatesh Iyer. He's not been given a spot in the ODI side. But I feel with everything that's happening, and the fact that Bumrah and Shami aren't there, Bhuvi is there, and it's okay. I mean, I feel the fact is that maybe for the T20 World Cup, I don't really see Bhuvi fitting into our 15-man squad. I have a feeling once we get there, it would probably be Bumrah, Shami, and maybe obviously Mohammad Siraj is going to be there. Whether we're going to go the Deepak Chahar way or Shardul Thakur way, something I'm really looking forward to see, because I don't see Bhuvneshwar Kumar being there. He's half or less than half of efficient that he was during the past couple of years. Obviously, had a bad IPL. He's had injuries. So I don't really see him making our 15-man squad for this year's T20 World Cup. But given the fact that he has experience, I think he's been picked for this West Indies series.
Well, I'll take your point about experience, but I think it's these sort of games where there's nothing riding on it. Let's face it, and I think it would have been good to go with the young players, see how they react in its home conditions, conditions that they know at. So it's surprising, but more surprising was the couple of names in the ODI squad. And again, if you want to generate interest, bring some young blood into it and see how they get on. But we saw, and I love Shekhar Dhawan. But I can't see him being there at the end of 2023 when the next World Cup is, which is bound to be in December, January sort of time in India. And then we've got somebody who's not played cricket for the last 6 months in Kuldeep Yadav back as well. Is he the best left-arm spinner we've got in the country in ODI cricket?
Well, I think he's the only one right now. Rather, a left arm wrist spinner.
Mm.
They have a different name for that now. They don't call them Chinaman anymore. Like, I think it's a left arm wrist spinner or something like that. But he's probably the only one who's there, And wrist spinners are obviously worth their gold, weight in gold in the limited overs formats. And that's why they've gone for all. I'm actually very happy that they've gone for all three and not two out of the three, because Ravi Bishnoi is always going to get a look in, after
Well,
the
I've
couple
got
of IPLs.
no issues with Ravi being in there. Young man,
Yeah.
he's the future. But I'm just thinking that the team want to go back to what was successful a couple of years ago with Jahal and Guldeep in those middle overs, and then they're really trying to get back those days when we've seen in the past year with Jahal, especially, he's been given opportunities. Guldeep was given an opportunity, but then we saw he didn't take it, and they're going back to that formula that's not worked in the past year.
Yeah, but I mean, that said, again, the Ravi Ashwin and Jayant Yadav experiment didn't work
No,
either.
no.
Neither of them were successful. But again, the obviously South African conditions, you don't expect that much assistance for the spinners. But that said, even Aiden Markram got a couple of wickets. Keshav Maharaj was pretty good. Tabrez Shamsi was obviously good. So I think they're looking to go that the wrist spinner way, because they're looking to go back and invest in wrist spin, and that's something that I'm totally game for, because I think wrist spinners are a very very valuable commodity in this day and age, and if you can find a way to fit all two, I mean both of them, or all three even in an 11, then nothing like it. Again, Kuldeep Yadav obviously has been undone in the last couple of years. He hasn't got chances at the Knight Riders. He's had to warm the benches. Whenever he's got a chance, he hasn't made the most of it. So I think they're looking to try him out one last time, and see how that partnership really works. Because again, his skill isn't something that you get freely in India. Considering that we are a country which plays a lot of spin, which produces a lot of spinners, we haven't had the skill set that Kuldeep Yadav has had, and I'm actually happy that they've gone back to him. Hopefully, he gets a chance and he proves his worth. Because if he does, there's nothing like it. Because his is a variation that we haven't had ever since he came into the picture. So I hope that he does well, and he gets chances. Because if we go back to those Kulcha times and you add Vishnu to that equation, then nothing like it. We'll never have to look towards Ashwin or Jayant Yadav ever again.
Well, I hope you're right. I mean, he has got age. He's still 27, and we know spinners can go until their 40s if they've got the class and the quality. And if he can, and there was a lot of his confidence was knocked in terms of the way KKR, treated him, and then obviously that's going to affect his form when he came back when he was given his last chance for India. So we'll see if the break has done him good. And like you say, he's one player that I suppose if he can turn it around, can be in contention in a couple of years' time. Well, it's less than 24 months, isn't it? So we'll see what happens. But one thing, I don't know how many TV screens you have at the moment, but you need a few TV screens with everything, all the sports that are going on at the moment, domestically and internationally. And there's a big quarter-final game for our young under-19 team against Bangladesh. They've been unbeaten. They've had a really good group stage. They had good warm-up games, really good performances. I mean, people say it was Uganda, but you still got to hit the runs, and
Yeah.
you still got to, have that mentality of getting to the centuries and continue going. So that tells you a little bit. How impressive have you been of the under-19s? And we talked about them after they won the Asia Cup as well, quite comfortably. So they're playing Bangladesh again. So we should go in with quite a bit of confidence into that game. I don't know if you've had time to cover because, like I said, you need multiple TV screens to get be able to keep on top of all these sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's been hard, I mean, I won't lie because obviously the matches start at the same time that the Pro Kabaddi League starts, and obviously it's not like the most ideal time. But yeah, we've had it easy so far, very honestly, because apart from the first game against South Africa, we've otherwise played Ireland and Uganda, and we fielded pretty much our second or even third string side at teams, the third string side teams given the COVID wave that's hit the side and players being quarantined, isolated, and all of those things. But that said, I think a couple of the youngsters have been very impressive. Angrish Raghuvanshi, opening the batting, I think he's been fabulous. The way that he's batted, scored 100 as well. Raj Baba, obviously, two of our highest run scorers, but they're there for a reason. They've looked very, very good. With the bat, Baba even scored like a 150. I think a 160 or something like that against Uganda in the match that we scored over 400 runs. Poor guys probably came for a good game of cricket, but they were completely overplayed and overpowered. And after that, VVS Lakshman went and probably had a word saying, don't be disappointed. It's a game of cricket. I'm sure you have learned a lot and things like that. So, but yeah, today's going to be a very important game because Bangladesh can't be taken very lightly. They're a good side, a side that's actually put in a couple of impressive performances. So it's gonna be a good game. I think we've had a couple of injuries as well. Players coming back from quarantine isolation. So hopefully we make it past the hurdle because our under 19 players have always had a lot of promise. Even someone like Hangarkar, he's someone who's been fabulous. The way that he's hitting the ball, the way he's bold as well. He seems like the next Hardik Pandya is what a lot of people are saying. Harnoor Singh as well, at the top of the order, left-hander, idolizes Shubman Gill, and there was this very, very nice video that ICC put up where everything he says is Shubman Gill. The one player that he got that he was overawed by Shubman Gill. The one player that he idolizes Shubman Gill. The one player that he styles his batting like Shubman Gill. And funny thing is, Shubman Gill is right-handed and Harnoor is left-handed. So
Apart from
that was
that,
a very, yeah, that was a very nice video, and so yeah, I think it's a very talented bunch of youngsters. Hopefully, they make it all the way because we've had some good success in the under 19 World Cups, and if we can keep that going, obviously there's a very big IPL auction coming up as well on Feb 12th and 13th. So these guys have a very good chance of making it big and earning an IPL contract because that's pretty much what kids are working towards
yeah,
nowadays and not even
yeah.
playing for India. So
Yeah. And you mentioned quite a few of the players there, the young players that stood out, and one that stood out for me that you mentioned as well was Raj Boa from Himachal, of all places. And we talked about this before as well, about the spread of cricket. I think he bats left-handed, bowls
yeah,
right-handed, medium fast. And you talk about idols, and his idol is Yuvraj Singh, which is
yeah,
amazing to hear about how these guys are looking back to that era. Well, Shubnam Gill is current era, but he's one for the future as well. All rounders is something that we talked about as well in previous shows. That we don't have a dearth, although we've got Lord, who's in the top 5 in the world at the moment. But he looks like another person that could come through. And the fact that he broke, I think the innings against Uganda got him ahead of Shekhar Dhawan in terms of the highest score. So he's really making an
yeah.
impact. And it'll be good to see if some of these do get, not some, quite a lot, get some contracts because this is the future of Indian cricket. And yeah, it's not going to be easy against Bangladesh. We know what happened in the last World Cup. But I think the real test will come if we get through. Hope we get through against Australia in the semi-finals. But yeah, doing the country proud as always. The under 19s, we always have a decent under 19 team. So looking forward to the game tonight because for me it will not only be the under 19 World Cup Kabaddi, which I am watching, believe it or not. But we've also got the AFCON Cup as well, quarterfinals. So
Yeah.
I haven't got 3 screens, by the way. I've only got one. So we'll see how we can keep on top of all of those games. Thank goodness the Premier League is having a break this weekend.
Yeah, need a
Um,
break.
yeah, but I'm talking of hoping that a lot of these under 19 players get contracts in the IPL. The two new franchises made their selections well since we last spoke. I'm really happy with my new team and the selections they made. I have to be honest. Hardik, I'm hoping we're going to get the old Hardik from a couple of years ago back, leading his home state. Rashid, they paid quite a good money, quite a lot of money for Rashid as well. And Shubnam, the man you just mentioned, who is being idolized by the under 19 players. And Lucknow went. I mean, it wasn't a big secret with KL. Um, they didn't spend as much, but they went with Ravi and Mark Stoinis. What did you think of their selections? The new franchises. Oh, shall I say the Super Giants? Now that we can officially name them.
Yeah, I think I think most of them were obviously on unexpected lines. I think the only one that's slightly surprising is Marcus Stoinis, but he's a champion player. I love the fact that he was picked by RCB. Of course, couldn't do too much justice to the role that he was given there. Uh, but he's someone who is a four over bank, and he's also very very explosive at the top of the order. So I think they've got their opening combination set in some sense, unless they're looking at Marcus Stoinis as their finisher. Um, Ravi Bishnoi is a steal. I think the fact that he's actually made the Indian team.
Was it
He's
four
been
crore,
spoken about
5 crore,
in
something like that?
four, yes.
Yeah,
Just 4 crore for he's touted as India's own Rashid Khan, and it's very similar the way that he bowls when compared to Rashid. Comes in with a quick arm action, bowls quick as well. Has a very very good googly. So I think Lucknow have landed themselves a very good bargain with Bishnoi at 4 crore. Stoinis and KL Rahul will obviously be two big players for them. I'm interested to see how KL Rahul captains this side, because at Punjab he had a lot of pressure to score a lot of runs. So for them, I think the biggest challenge would be to find someone who can score runs and score them quickly. And give Rahul a little bit of freedom to play at the top, because off late and especially in the IPL, we have seen that Rahul wants to take his time. So whether they're looking at Stoinis in that opener role, or they're looking for someone else and to give Stoinis that role in the middle order, is something I'm interested to see. As for Ahmedabad, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't be happy. With I mean, forget Hardik Pandya, you've got Rashid Khan. I think you've already won like 4 out of how many other games that they're going to play already in the tournament. He's a really genuine match winner, and he's someone who I'm very excited to see play under Hardik Pandya's captaincy, because I've actually been wanting to write an article on Pandya, and how this whole atmosphere of him captaining a side could actually do really well for him, because he's been a showstopper in every ride. He's never been the type where he holds back, where he's very calm. He's just sitting in the dugout and just comes and plays his role and goes back. He's been an entertainer. He's been a performer.
he's a character
Uh,
in the
yeah, he's an
dressing room.
absolute character, and you need those types of
Mm.
captains. That's what the IPL's been all about. So I'm very excited to see it, and KL Rahul versus Hardik Pandya. That's going to be a box office affair, and I'm very excited to see how it pans out. I'm just a little worried about Ahmedabad, because if the IPL does happen in India, Shubman Gill isn't someone who gets going really really quickly. So they'll need to figure out a way to get him going early on, because obviously he's going to open the batting. So they'll need to find someone who's a good partner for him. But otherwise, I think they're three very very good retentions, and the fact that they've got someone as explosive as Hardik captaining the side, I think it's going to be a very very interesting season that's going to be coming up.
Well, the other thing, and they were doing the rounds, is that Hardik is used to Gujarat being a dry state, and Rashid, obviously, that there won't be any issues, but Shubnam will have to try and source something for him and keep him happy in Gujarat. Your boys, RCB, have got 57 crore to spend. Have you sorted out how they're going to spend it? Because you had big influence in terms of how they spent the money last time.
Well, I don't have an influence at all, very honestly, because I'm actually at crossroads. On one hand, I really, really, really want David Warner in the side, because he's someone who I've really, I mean, I just really love his style of play. I'm obviously wondering whether they're looking at either Warner or someone like Shreyas Iyer, or Ishan Kishan as captaincy material because we obviously need a captain. I'm not entirely sure if they're willing to give Maxwell that responsibility, considering that this might as well be the final. I mean, the last mega auction that we see. This team will be locked on for 3 years. So, are they looking at someone like Glenn Maxwell for 3 years as captain? I'm not entirely sure. So, we've also seen that the IPL hasn't exactly been a good playground for foreign captains. Are they looking the Shreyas Iyer way? Are they looking the Ishan Kishan way? I think time will tell. Obviously, we need that. We need a couple of good batters as well. Given that we've retained Kohli, Maxwell, and Siraj. The other thing I'm interested to see is if we go back towards Chahal or Padikkal, because I really felt those two would be retained, but they're not. So, yeah, a lot to pick from. They'll have to be very careful though, because it's a mega auction. There are so many teams involved, and they'll need to spend their money wisely.
And it's in your beautiful city as well, so something to look forward to in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks. So you will definitely, well, you have got some sort of influence one way or the other because they did spend a fortune on the player that you wanted.
It's only one metro ride away, and I still can't get to it. That's how bad it is. That's
Oh,
the unfortunate part about it all.
well, we live in a digital world, so I'm sure they'll be able to tap into your Twitter account and see what you're suggesting. But something else that we've got to look forward to, and surprise, surprise, India and Pakistan are in the same T20 World Cup group again. And once again, it's going to be the first game of the group that will set the tone for the rest of the group as well. Are you surprised with the group in terms of we got as well as Pakistan, South Africa, Bangladesh, and the chances are West Indies plus whoever finishes. I think runner up in Group A or something like that. But it's our neighbours again.
Very surprised, shocked. Didn't expect this at all. I mean, India versus Pakistan in an ICC event. You're kidding me. Yeah, no, but I mean, I said this last time around as well. The way that the ICC schedules these tournaments is that they first put India Pakistan and then they do the rest, because that's the only way that India and Pakistan will get to play because of all the political tensions, the unrest, and everything. And ICC, I mean, sorry, India Pakistan is probably the biggest cricketing event that you can get, because I mean, obviously, the Ashes is something that you get to see every year. It happens for a long time. In Pakistan is like, that one day is like a national holiday for everyone. No one works on that day. So yeah, obviously the tickets are sold like months in advance, and it's probably the biggest cricketing event, simply put. So yeah, looking forward to it. In fact, I think it's happening on October 23rd. The previous year it happened on October 24th. And so a lot of similarities, and hoping this time around we don't get knocked over early by Shaheen Afridi, because if that happens, then India Pakistan will again, there'll probably be a little bit of the sheen taken away from an India Pakistan contest.
But I'm already looking for. I mean, I know we joke about it, but it's going to happen. India versus Pakistan in an ICC tournament somewhere down the line. But the MCG is going to be different to Dubai. I know we had to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to try and get the tickets, so it was incredible. Really looking forward to it, and it will be another. Like I said, hopefully 100,000 in that stadium, but we'll see how it pans out. And just to end very quickly, it's good to hear that the Ranji Trophy is going to take place this year.
Yeah, fabulous. I think interestingly though, it was a couple of hours, or I don't even think it was a couple of hours after Ravi Shastri put out a tweet saying, it's going to be spineless without the Ranji Trophy, and then bam, like a couple of hours later, Jay Shah and everyone's announcing that the Ranji Trophy is happening in two segments, and they're looking at like a July-ish window. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good for the game, because red ball cricket otherwise will be dominated by white ball cricketers, and that's not something that's ideal, because obviously there are their own different challenges. But that said, I genuinely hope that they're actually working towards the Ranji Trophy model. And in fact, I think they also should get back the T20 challenge for the women cricketers, because that's something that we're missing as well. It was supposed to happen sometime in Jan or Feb, but of course, with the COVID wave and all of that, it's not feasible right now. But yeah, it's good that Ranji is back. We need a lot more red ball cricket, because that's something that's defined our country for a long time. We've obviously been missing it for a couple of years now, and now that it's back, hopefully It's an even contest that's planned out. Of course, it will come with its own logistical challenges, but I think that's how it's going to be for the years to come. We're not going to see a situation where everything's going to be easy, everything's going to be handed out on a platter. People will have to fight for it. We've seen a lot of cricketers talking about the bio bubble and everything that's associated with it, and how hard it is to live inside one. But with the Ranji Trophy returning, I think it's going to mean that a lot of the cricketers currently who were depending on the Ranji Trophy stipend will get some form of life back, because otherwise they've had to do odd jobs. I know a lot of people who haven't had anything to do, in fact, being breadwinners in their family. So it's good that the Ranji Trophy is back, more for, I mean, apart from cricketing reasons as well, and hopefully we get to see it real soon.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, 100% agree with that. So hopefully it'll happen and in a safe way, because last Sunday was heartbreaking after hearing the news what happened to our women's footballers. But let's not go into that for another show. But anyway, as always, the time has flown, and I know you're a really busy man, so I appreciate you taking this time out to speak to us and giving us your views. And I know I better give you a 5 minute break so you can get a mug of coffee or something, because I know you're full on. There's no weekend for you. So, but as always, thank you. Stay safe, and I'm sure we'll pretty much catch up again very soon, because there's always something to talk about when it comes to cricket.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bharat. Great chatting with you. I'm sorry I'm having to leave so early. Just got a
No,
couple of
no,
calls that I need
absolutely
to
not.
get to.
No, no,
So
no. It's
thank you
we've
so much. Always good to be here.
Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
Okay, cheers. Bye.